Are we filming now?
We are ready.
We're ready. All right.
Open up the shay.
Okay, should I say who we are? CP Live? City Paper Live. Welcome. How is everyone doing?
Hello.
I'm Amanda Waltz, Senior Arts and Entertainment Writer for the City Paper.
I am Josh Oswald. Let me check the masthead. I think it's
What is your job?
Digital Media Manager.
You do pretty much everything because you also write.
Yeah, writing, tweaking technology.
Yeah.
Posting stories, socialing stories.
Socian. Yeah.
Hashtag.
And you are not Ryan Dito, who's usually here. But that's great. This is going to be fun.
What is he doing? Do you know?
I think he's covering a protest. I don't know. He's doing whatever Ryan Dito does.
Occupy Wall Street still?
Oh, no.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah, those
when
were
it seemed like there was only one thing wrong in the country.
Oh, it was
Or like one-ish, or like maybe two.
99%?
Yep.
Yeah, no, I remember
Mellon
that.
Square Park.
Remember when we only had like one protest, I don't know, every 6 months?
Yeah.
Now we have them all the time.
good old days.
It's great. No, I'm into it. It's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
a lot.
Go out there and protest. It's just got to
Go
be exhausting. It's
protest.
mentally and physically exhausting. For
Everything is
everyone.
mentally and physically exhausting in
True.
this time.
That is true.
But yeah, so what are we going to talk about today? Speaking of mental and physical exhaustion.
Well, we have Well, we have Taste Magazine, which
Taste
is fun. I really liked this one.
This
Not
one
that I
was
don't like
really
other ones,
good.
but
No, so we talked about Jasmine Chow of Yummy Holic, which I had been familiar with her work. Basically, she does like very intricately decorated cookies.
Yeah.
And
there's a Keanu Reeves cookie, right?
there is
That
a
Keanu
really,
Reeves.
really good Keanu Reeves cookie. There is
Go
a
online and
Sandra
look at it. You'll get a
Oh
better
cookie.
look
I mean, it's
with the Keanu Reeves.
insane how detailed these are, and she is just an absolute delight. And
Keanu right there.
Keanu from what was that Netflix movie?
Oh, that's where I saw
where
him
it's from.
recently.
Yeah.
It was that with the Asian American. They were in San Francisco, and they were best friends growing up.
They were best friends, and then they like kind of fall in love.
It's a great movie. What the heck
It's a
was it
really
called?
good movie, and I can't remember what it's called. It has one of those generic titles,
Is it like the
Next
story
to You.
of us or something? Like,
No, it's a Netflix movie.
it's
You
good.
could probably find it very easily, but yeah, Keanu. That's what this is from. And Keanu Reeves is amazing because he kind of plays him.
Because I was discussing with my wife, like, what movie did we see Keanu Reeves in recently? And it took us like 10 minutes to get to that. I love
that he's willing to play like a version of himself, like a caricature of himself, and he's just so funny. I remember in the 90s, people were like, "Oh, Keanu Reeves, he's such a bad actor. He
sucks.
He's an idiot."
Yeah,
and now
I'm sure I said that.
And now we all realize, like, no, he is an angel on earth, and that's just the truth. But yeah, absolutely read about Jasmine Chow. She uses her cookies to sort of promote really awesome, talented Asian Americans and Asian American culture. And and also the cookies just look insane. They're like works of art.
I had never heard of any of it, and I was just like really impressed by how much she kind of crammed, like how many of her values she crammed into like one.
Yeah.
It's I found out I liked cooking, and I want to represent Asian culture, and I'm going to get all of those together and make something tasty and informative. Like, I would have never thought that you could use baked goods to make a nice, approachable political statement for.
Yeah, and I remember her because she used to do cookies for, like Row House Cinema used to do a lot of events, and they would feature her cookies, and they were just adorable. But yeah, I just absolutely love her and her work. I wrote about, let's see if I can get back here. So I wrote about this company called Getmo Muffins, which is this woman who basically just makes food and will like deliver it to you no matter what.
Eggless muffins?
She doesn't use eggs.
Is it all vegan? I didn't get to that one. I saw that.
It's weird because it's like she basically just unintentionally does a lot of like egg-free, gluten-free works because she was like, I don't want to pay for eggs because it was really expensive. So I just figured out a way not to use eggs. And I was like, that's amazing. But yeah, she's like a self-taught, sorry, I have like a sore throat today. So please excuse me. But yeah, she's like a self-taught baker, and her 2 teenage daughters, talking with her, like her teenage daughters help out with everything, and they're basically her coworkers, and they like taste test stuff, and they'll give her like very honest opinions if something is disgusting. And it just like so read about Gitmo muffins. It's really cool.
It's fun to say too. Alex said that
Gitmo muffins, and she makes more than muffins. She makes a lot of different stuff. She makes these like tater tot, basically like smothered tater tots that she'll like deliver to you.
You had me at tater tots.
Yeah.
Let alone smothering.
Smothering. I love a smother.
Tachos.
But yeah, I don't know. Let's just say, just read taste. That's a little bit of a tease, unless you have something else you want.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. I've read it. I wonder if this is my second or third taste at City Paper. I can't remember, but this one really stood out to me for some reason. So
no, it's really, really good, and it's a lot of women.
This Instagram soup thing blew my mind too.
The soup thing? Yeah. I love soup.
See, I'm not a soup guy. But
you're not a soup guy, Josh?
I've said some things that I'm not going to...
I always pegged you as a soup guy.
I am not going to repeat on live, whatever this is, live internet.
Streaming.
Some rude things about soup to people who have made this.
How dare you?
I know. But I think I'm coming around. Maybe
have you always had like the bad canned Campbell soup?
No, I've probably had some good homemade soups, but I think maybe there was like a trigger of like... Soup day was like Sunday, which is always depressing to begin with because you got to go back to school the next day or something.
And your mom's like, I don't know, we had this left over. We're making soup out of it.
Yeah, and and it was like chicken noodle soup, and I was like, ooh, cool, ramen, or because I was an idiot, and I was like, give me that Campbell's squishy noodle. I was like, ew, it's homemade.
Yeah.
So I like.
Oh yeah.
I made I created my own cognitive dissonance over soup. I do like cream soup. I like cream soups better. It's easier. I like clam chowder. Yeah. Clam chowder.
I will say I think soup gets such a God, I can't believe we're talking about soup. But seriously, soup rolls.
Right here.
Soup rolls. Look at that fucking soup.
Instagram.
Sorry, I said the F word.
Yeah. We'll beep it out later.
That is worth an F word because it looks so good. But yeah, I will say I make a lot of soups. I don't know. It's easy. One time I was making some kind of like barley soup and I ran out of broth. I just didn't have any broth. And so I was like, I'll put beer in this. I just like
as the main base?
It was like water
and beer.
a little bit of, it was like water, a little bit of, it did. It was like water, a little bit of stock and then beer. And it was really good actually. Cause I was just like sipping the beer and like pouring a little bit in as I was going.
That's like a scene from like a guy who just hit his bottom. He's like he bottomed out. I'm just getting drunk. Poured a little bit in my soup. Poured a little bit in my face.
Yeah, except it was much more culinary in this case.
Yeah.
But yeah, it turned out really well. It was kind of tangy. So I feel like soups get a bad rap because it's just like you can literally make soup out of anything, and it's so easy. But yeah, so brothmonger is another thing that we highlighted. Anyway, just retaste. It's amazing.
Get on that taste.
Take a taste of taste. But yeah, we also have this week's regular issue. You can see our fun little graphic on the front with Peduto. Peduto. I don't know why I said it like that.
Peduto remix.
So yeah, Peduto. What can we say about Peduto? So much.
Well, was the main focus about his opinion on the Green New Deal and why he's not anti as much as disagrees with the execution.
Yeah, basically he wants to figure out a way to have it both ways, which is why we have the little donkey thing. But basically he wants to have a version of a Green New Deal that focuses much more on transitioning people who work in jobs related to fossil fuel production, transition them away from it. And he feels like, the Green New Deal doesn't really do that enough, but also not really giving an alternative, and also trying to work with Democrats on the local and state levels who are so obsessed with fracking.
Yeah.
And how complicated that is. And also just like him wanting to support
Saputo. Bill Saputo.
Also wanting to support at one point, Ryan did this interview, by the way, thinking about supporting Bloomberg, which is, in my opinion, not a great idea.
If you have watched previous episodes of this,
Yes.
You know where we stand on Bloomy.
Have you heard of Ryan Dito? But yeah, so it's a really good, thoughtful article from Ryan. I think it's a little sympathetic. It's both sympathetic and critical of Peduto in terms of like, he is kind of, I mean, he is stuck in the middle. I mean, he is sort of like...
Yeah, I like it, and I haven't gotten to read it yet, but I've overheard people discussing it and Ryan talking to Peduto, and I like the fact that whether I agree with his stance or disagree with his stance, it's an indication that he thought about it, right? Like, you know, like, and whatever his stance or his preference is, he's trying to work it out for people and for his own values. Yeah. So it's not just I'm going to say yes because I'm a Democrat or I'm going to say no because I'm whatever. And
well, it's tough when you have like hardline pro fracking people, and you're like, okay, I get that, jobs, economy, sure, but also air quality, and this is not a sustainable industry in a lot of ways.
That's just where the U.S. and a lot of the globe is just so far behind, is that economy before sustaining the planet. Yeah. It just makes the thing that makes me so angry is when I hear people tie into, you know, well, what about economic growth? What about economic growth is pertinent to our survival?
Well, it's also like, it's such a...
I get it. Like, we want to be prosperous and people need jobs, and I get that. But when I hear economic growth, I think a company that's huge, that has billions of dollars, needs to get more billions of dollars.
Right.
They don't. Yeah. They don't need to do that.
Well, that's just it's such an old, sort of like 1950s, like, let's prosper and that's it. Yeah. You can't. I mean, it's impossible. And we've seen this happen. We've seen it happen in the auto industry. We've seen it happen in so many different industries in the US that have collapsed.
And that made a lot more sense when the people weren't doing this kind of science, or at least it wasn't as, you know, in front of everybody's face and obvious. Yeah. When you've had the hottest month or whatever in the world, and also in Antarctica or the Arctic, and top and bottom.
Both? Probably.
Probably.
It's been a long time since I've studied geography. But no, it is. So yeah, but I think it's a really thoughtful article from Ryan, just showing that, you know, our mayor, he's considerate, maybe misguided in some points, but yeah, so definitely read that. Yeah, we have a lot of really amazing stories in this issue, actually. We have, so I wrote about, it's the end of February, Josh.
Yep.
Which means that it's going to be March. And you know what March is?
Spring?
Women's History Month.
Oh. I'm so bad at any like, hey, this is the celebration of, I feel like, and not for women's history and certainly not for Black history or anything, just like the day, it's like, oh, it was National Pancake Day the other day. Like, I'm so, like, I just block out like the celebrations of, but now I know, and I'm in.
Yeah, National Pancake Day. Give it to me.
Your Windows story.
So I did a little thing, just kind of talking about, it's, you know, started Women's History Month. So the Heinz Memorial Chapel at Pitt, University of Pittsburgh. I feel like the only reason people know about it is because it's like, oh, my cousin got married there. It's like, if you're, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, people who got married at the chapel.
I've only heard of it. Where is the actual location? I always thought is it like cathedral adjacent?
It is. It's like really close. It's basically literally in the shadow of the cathedral. Okay. It's so it's this little chapel. But they're doing a tour because they have over 20 stained glass windows, and they have, you know, like with stained glass, you know, you have a lot of figures. It's, you know, it's very ornate, but they have a lot of women featured in the glass, not just women from religious texts, but they have women from science, literature, activism. I mean, it's all over the map. And so they're doing a tour where they're inviting people to come into the chapel and just learn about who these women are and who are featured in the windows. And actually there's the transept windows, which are the really tall windows that you see kind of like at the front of the chapel, have an equal number of men and women.
Oh, so, I didn't see that. I don't remember reading that part. I was really digging deep for proofing errors. That's another job I have.
A proofing? You barely read it. But yeah, so it's really cool. It's really interesting. I spoke to two of the women who work at the chapel just about who is featured. And the woman who's doing the tour is, they had done this like the previous 2 years, but it was more like experimental and like limited. But she's trying to do different women each year. Okay. So she does like 4 women each year, and she's doing 4 different women. She's doing Ruth from the Bible. And one of the things she was telling me, she was like, I was very curious because the thing about Ruth in the Bible is that she and her mother-in-law, Naomi, journeyed from, I think it was Moab to Bethlehem. Okay. And she was like, I was wondering how long that journey was. So I could like
Moab?
tell.
Is that Africa?
I looked this up and
going.
I don't remember.
I'll do a little Google.
But yeah, she was like, it was 1,800 miles. And so these women traveled 1,800 miles.
Oh yeah, which would have been, and they measured that, or they.
She said it was something like it
would be like I remember.
It was from
that part,
Denver to New York. Yeah, basically. Yeah. So just little tidbits of information like that. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool, interesting tour. They sent us some artwork of the windows, and they look really amazing. The person who designed the windows actually. His work is featured in a ton of churches, including.
It was one person?
Yeah, it was one gentleman, and he's if I could look up, Charles Connick. That's right. So his work is featured everywhere, including St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. So he's a big deal in stained glass.
Yeah. Huge in stained glass.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out. That was one of my stories. I also wrote about there was a black shorts program. I think it probably.
As in movie shorts, not a pair of shorts.
No. Yeah, I think it's like when you work in, because like I've been working in film for so long that
Can I interrupt real quick that this guy looks exactly like Joe Mantegna?
That guy does look like Joe Mantegna.
What's Rez Abbasi? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He has a show coming up.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like Joe Mantegna.
He really does look like Joe Mantegna. So this already happened, but I was talking about there was a black short film program that was being done by this Pittsburgh Black Film Network, which is basically a network of local black film professionals. And we just talked about how, making the film industry here more equitable. So even though the program already happened, there's a lot of great information about what they're doing. And so, yeah, that's enough for my work in this issue.
Okay. I'm just going to go adjacent to this because I read this one too.
Oh, yeah, that one's really cool.
And this is a story about a woman who wants to take back the word fat and make it kind of like a neutral a phraseology, I guess.
Yeah.
And she has created a superhero book or
just adorable comic.
I don't know if I forgot if it was like a graphic novel or
I'm always like a little weird about like what constitutes a comic book and what constitutes a graphic novel.
I think it's just length, right?
I don't know. I thought it was formatting, but maybe I'm wrong.
I would have to think. I was never hugely into any either because like.
Can I tell you? I read Mouse in middle school.
MAUS.
Yeah. And that was some heavy stuff.
Yeah, that's a little.
A book about mice, and I picked it up and I started reading, and I was like, "This is not about mice."
Isn't there a Star of David on the cover? Am I thinking of a different?
There might be.
Because that's like.
Well, there is like a mouse,
a little indicative
like
of
a literal mouse.
A little heavier than.
Yeah, that was my intro to graphic novels. Was a mouse when I was like 12.
I tried to read. What's the HBO show they just had?
Watchmen.
Yeah. I tried, and I don't know. I was never a great reader because my mind was too busy. Yeah. So maybe it'd be different now. I can read.
It's tough to find time to read.
Yeah.
I was a bookworm as a kid.
No, I was like, I'm manic. So I was just running around doing weird stuff.
Playing drums.
Yeah, hitting drums. So maybe it would be different now, but I found it really hard to follow.
Watchmen?
Yeah.
The show
just like
or
all their powers. I haven't seen the show. I tried to read that. I read like half of the graphic novel when I was.
I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. I think it's really tough for me to get into it. I've thought about, because I love the show The Max when I was a kid. Do you remember The Max on MTV Liquid Television?
Oh, I love Liquid Television, but I don't remember. No, I don't remember that specific
The Max is so weird. And like when I was a kid, because I was a kid when that came out, and I just remember watching The Max. I was like, what is this? Yeah. And so The Max was a comic book series that was adapted into this super, super weird animation block on Liquid Television. Mm-hmm. And it's basically about this like really sort of like not effective superhero called the Max. and he is just like this really sad guy who is just like in New York City, and he's just like not a very good superhero, and he is like friends. He's sort of like, he considers himself this protector of this woman who's a social worker in this sort of like Reagan era view of like New York City. And it is so weird. And like, I've always thought about reading the comic, and I'm like, but will I read the comic, the Max? I'll just rewatch the very limited series.
What was the other hugely popular show on Liquid Television?
Probably
Aeon Flux.
Aeon Flux, the movie with.
Didn't that come back briefly?
It did, I think.
I didn't remember seeing.
I remember trying to watch. That's another one that was like very. I feel like the '90s was just like, let's get dark. Let's get dark with everything.
Also, I mean, it's like this. I hate even saying it, or do I? Do I love saying it?
Come on, man, do it.
MTV.
Yeah.
So sad.
It's sad.
I mean, everything changes and evolves and finds the best way for them to survive and make money. But they had Headbangers Ball.
Headbangers Ball, man.
120 minutes.
120 minutes was so good.
I mean, it's like, I can't get into it because we'll go down an old road.
A sad old musician
80s old
rabbit
road,
hole.
which probably would not. Well, I'm not going to judge of the 40 people watching.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's true, because I feel like MTV was like, okay, we do the videos, but we also want to do reality television. We also want to do TRL. How can we like do all these and like kind of balance it out? And they were like, ooh, it'll be like MTV After Dark. Like all the really edgy, cool music videos will be on like after prime time. And it's like, yeah, it was a pretty cool time.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
And like, there's a nostalgia for it too, but there also has to be some kind of recognition that it was very different, and it was, I hate, for lack of a better term, to use cutting edge, but it really was like, Beavis and Butthead, it would be, I'm not saying whether that it was a great show or not, but the videos that they would watch were like, these timeless indie bands that you just would not get that kind of like that long-standing, like, these are bands that people have loved for 30 years that still go and see. Now, of course, you have Stones and things like that. It's not uncommon.
Yeah.
But the Stones is a gigantic worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah.
These are
huge.
Little bands that, that DIY independent record labels that just are still cruising along. And
well, I mean, that's how you got, I was from rural Pennsylvania, the way I got introduced to any kind of culture was through MTV. So it was like, oh, what's Ween? I guess Ween is this weird band that Beavis and Butthead are. Yeah, or like Primus. It's like, okay, I don't think I like this, but I'm glad I know what it is. Yeah, just stuff like that where. Yeah, and you also had, I think it's like the fact that you had blocks where it's like, yeah, if you want to explore hip hop, Yo MTV Raps, here's that. If you want to explore alt indie music, here's this block. It's like it had this like, it was kind of weirdly like how radio used to be. I don't know. I feel like there was like a thing with radio back in the day where it was just like, oh yeah, if you want to listen to like actually, WYP might still do this. But yeah, it's like, oh, if you want to listen to jazz, here's Jazz Hour. If you want to listen to this, here's this hour. It's like, and I feel like that's kind of what they were emulating. But yeah, now it's just like, I don't even watch MTV. I used to watch.
Oh, I can't remember the last time I turned it on. And I'm not proud of that or ashamed of it. Either way. Like, I don't watch anything.
It is what it is. Yeah. I will say I used to love, they had a reality show that was basically, what was it called?
On MTV?
Yeah, they had a reality show on MTV that was like, it would just like explore different like stuff that people were struggling with. So it was just like, oh, I have Tourette's, and they would just like follow three people who had
True
Tourette's.
Story?
I think it was, yeah.
Or
oh my God, what was it called? I used to love it.
True Story,
True Life?
True Life?
It must have been True Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was obsessed with True Life.
That was good.
There was one that was like, I live online. Like,
or like, I want to be a skateboarder.
It was fantastic. It was really good. It's like, I had gastrointestinal surgery, and I was like, yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna watch this. But yeah.
And that has something to do with the production too, because you catch like an episode of it, you're like, I don't want to. There's nothing I'm interested about that I'm interested in gastrointestinal, and then you're just like sucked in. You're like, oh my God, I'm so invested.
It's great.
It's like
I was like, even stuff that was just like, oh, I'm in like a polyamorous relationship. I remember that one was so good. Oh my God. True Life.
So a lot of good stuff. I'm sure there's some good stuff on there now that I just don't go to because I've completely forgotten.
I cut cable,
busy.
man. I cut cable. I don't give a shit.
I'm trying. I'm in the I actually had the discussion this morning. Are we, my wife asks me, so my wife says to me, she says, are we still trying to cut cable?
Yeah.
What? I mean, we're locked into a contract that I got bamboozled into. I wrote about this.
Yeah. Oh,
big
cable. You did write about this.
Google it. Big Cable has us right where they want us, I think, is the headline. But it's just, I needed to update a router because ours was not working. In my opinion, you send me a replacement router. Well, we had to pay for it, which is weird because I don't remember paying for the first. Yeah, I don't remember paying for the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I guess I was on the phone and they skated around like, if you do this, then it'll be $13 less. And I'm like, I wasn't listening, but I heard $13 less. Sign me up. So I signed a contract. So I said, what would it take to cancel this? And well, you're locked into a contract, so you have to buy your way out, which is like $300. So now Xfinity, if you're listening, because this is Verizon, I'm open to a buyout. If Xfinity wants to pick up the fee we have to pay to get out of Verizon, I'm on you.
Yeah.
Because we just want internet. Like
I had cable for so long, and then one day I was just like flipping through the channels, and I was like, this is a hellscape. I'm getting rid of this. Yeah. I just cut it because honestly, the only thing I would ever watch was like back when I was freelancing, and I'm like, I just need something to play in the background. Yeah. So I would put on the Hallmark Channel at night because they would play back to back Golden Girls and Frasier, and I would just let that play in the background, and like every once in a while,
I'd be like, punch.
I'd be like, oh, Niles, and like I would like giggle and then go back to my writing. That was all I watched, and then TCM sometimes, and that was like it. And I'm like, I don't want and or need this. Yeah. So I just cut it. Yeah.
For a while, I was I don't know if I'd call it invested, but I enjoyed a lot of HGTV. Also, a column I wrote. And now I just I'm done. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I knew going on when I started watching it that, it's a very repetitive thing. But after like 5 years, you're like, oh, okay, prop bros. I get it.
And there's so many reality shows where I'm like, I don't know who these people are. Why are they famous? Who's Chris Lee? Who is he? Why does he have money?
He knows best.
Who is he?
I know. I love that's my biggest question about these famous people. And these reality people is like, where does their money come from? I
actually, like Chris Chrisley, I looked him up. I was like, okay.
I'm sure I've Wikipedia'd him too.
Surely Wikipedia will tell me who this man is and his weird blonde, like Village of the Damned family.
Children of the Corn.
Like, who is this? And I looked him up and it was just like Chris Chrisley is the star of the Chris Chrisley Knows Best. And I was like, but who is he? Why is he famous? Why does he have the show? It makes no sense. Somebody, please tell me, why is he famous? But yeah, it was just stuff like that where I'm like, I don't know who these people are. Honestly, I just kind of want to watch Kitchen Nightmares and like a marathon of that, and maybe I don't know.
Kitchen Nightmares was great.
Kitchen Nightmares is great. I started watching the new one where he tries to rehab a restaurant in 24 hours. I binged that like crazy, and now I'm out of episodes. And what was the other one? Oh, I used to watch a lot of Bar Rescue.
Do people like Gordon Ramsay? I wonder if we've had this conversation before. I do. I've been thinking a lot about like, just, I don't know, walking down the street, how like society is this, I think and it's mostly internet society, I hope, where it's like
living online.
Yeah. Like, I either like or hate this person. There's no in between. And I know immediately or there's one tweet they sent and I know I can write them off or I really like them.
Yeah.
So I think Gordon Ramsay's like a good indication of like, that guy might be a huge dick, but I watched enough of his show. I mean, it's like I've never met the guy. But he's funny. He's very funny. Yeah, I've seen some touching aspects of where he wants to help the family, fix their restaurant. Like people have dynamics. Yeah, you have to have you have to have a dynamic in trying to enjoy somebody. Oh, it's definitely a persona.
Like he definitely. Well, it's funny because if you watch, because Kitchen Nightmares started off in Britain, so if you watch.
Wasn't he a lot nicer in England?
He's like so sweet. Like if you watch the English one, he's just like, he's like, I don't understand. You used to be a 4-star chef. What happened, man? I want to help you. Like, and then you get to America and it's just him screaming like, you stupid.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah. And it's interesting to watch that. And like, as soon as the camera's off, he's like, oh, was that good? Oh. He's like, oh, good job. Like, it's like, I don't know. Yeah. It's just funny because it's like, it's obviously a persona, but it's an entertaining persona.
Yeah, and if you're in the entertainment industry, you have to build some kind of persona or brand.
Well, I know
it's
people
just not
who
going to do anything.
Yeah, I have friends who work in reality television, and they'll tell me like, yeah, it is. I mean, you cannot actually film reality because reality is boring. You have to create scenarios, so it's not.
I would say Errol Morris has probably accurately filmed
Errol
reality.
Morris.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
But I mean, that's serious. Check out some Errol Morris movies.
Errol Morris, everybody.
Jupiter, Florida, I think is one of them. He does some
Anyway,
good stuff.
do you? Is there anything you want to talk about?
I'd talk about this classical architecture Charles Rosenblum column. He's usually doing architecture pieces each week.
I love Charles.
Yeah,
Charles,
very funny. He was. I think he did the podcast once. He was in one time.
He did the podcast once because we were talking about the Gibsonian castle mansion.
Oh yeah.
McMansion.
Anyway, so this one is about everybody's favorite subject, Donald Trump. Is doing a.
I cannot.
Of course, it has to be a slogan. It has to be brandable because the presidency is a reality show now. It's make architecture great again, or make it beautiful again, or something.
So he wants
nonsense.
to make it all classical.
Yeah.
He wants to make it like, because in DC, a lot of the buildings are
like a statute that would say all of our public buildings have to be classical architecture.
Yeah, instead of brutalist, which I love brutalism, do not even come for me. But yeah, basically classical, so like columns, very Grecian,
which is
just
cool.
Like
we have, what's the one here, Mellon Institute, if you know where that is.
It's a very familiar
the Batman,
one.
That's the Dark Knight.
That is the
scene.
Yeah, and it's the Batman scene, like
and
the
that's
big riot.
cool, and it's cool because that architect, whoever did that one, decided to do that at that time. And it was organically decided, and they planned it, and they studied that architecture, and it naturally happened there, and that's great, and I love it, and I think it looks cool. But when you force not only artists but scientists, because it's a science too, to follow some rote rule of what architecture should be, it takes away all of the.
It's limiting, and it's also. There's a reason why people move away from certain movements. I mean, art is political, just like architecture is political. I mean, there's a reason why people are like, we don't want to do classical architecture, or like, we kind of want to move away from that. And there's a lot of different reasons why. So, but the idea, like you said, the idea of making it mandatory is ridiculous. It goes against everything that it's like, okay, if you want to really make America great again, then you should showcase what actually makes it great in terms of architecture. Yeah. And it's like
all the things we've ever done.
Yeah. And it's like there's tons of architects who are doing like cool experimental new things, and to say like, nope, you got to put columns up. Okay. Yeah. Then what? I think a building should be like do you remember the Longaberger Basket office building? Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. And I would have never, ever thought of that thing again and barely knew what you were talking about. But now I have a vivid mental picture of what that thing is.
Let me tell you. So Longaberger Basket is this basket company that was huge among women, primarily my mom and my sister.
Basket lovers.
Much older sister. Basket enthusiasts, let's say. So Longaberger Basket was this huge basket company, which sounds so insane to say out loud. But they had an office building.
Are they all woven baskets?
Well, they were like, there's like a special process in which you make these baskets, and that's why they're such good baskets. And I'm like, I'm sorry, this isn't the 1600s. I don't need a basket. Like, I'm not freaking like Little Red Riding Hood. Whatever. So their office building is a basket. It's a giant basket, complete with like little handles and everything. On top. So they went bankrupt, and so now there's this like giant basket-shaped building that is for sale. That has been for sale. I don't know if anyone bought it yet, but I just like the idea of like, what if we just went real literal and just made like, oh, this is a science building. Well, it's a giant beaker.
Yeah.
It
needs to be a DNA double helix.
It's just like, let's go. Oh, a hospital. It's a giant stethoscope. I don't know. Like, let's just say screw it. Everything is literal now.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
What would a building for a newspaper be? Not that we own this building. We have one office, but.
Oh, I mean, it would be a giant stack of newspapers.
Yeah.
And like the face would be, you know, like it would just be like, I don't know, like extra, read all about it. Like
a bunch of people with their pockets turned inside out.
Inside out. Like,
oh, I'm broke.
Yeah, that's my take, frankly. Everything needs to be along a burger basket building.
Yeah, look that thing up because it is amazing.
Charles does such amazing writing on architecture. It's so thoughtful. It's just, I mean, it's great. Yeah, definitely read that. And right next to it, for some bizarre reason, is our editor, Lisa Cunningham, the Cat Video Festival at the Rango's Giant Cinema at the Carnegie Science Center. She decided to have her cat write
Skippy.
So
Skippy
next to this very thoughtful, great article about architecture is Lisa's thing about her cat watching these videos. Oh, bless her.
That's all weekly life style.
All weekly life. That's what you get.
We're like the modern day 90s MTV.
Yeah. You want cat videos? We got cat videos. You want architecture? We got architecture.
So I never know what stories I write are going to. I'm probably told, and I just am
Did you write
listening.
anything for this issue?
I wrote for this week, but it didn't go in the paper.
Not because it wasn't good.
Yeah,
we just ran out of room.
That remains to be seen. But people take priority as they should. Real stories take priority over my stories, but I wrote about my distaste for LinkedIn social.
Oh,
is that even a social? Do they call that a social network?
So it is. It's a platform. I've actually gotten calls for jobs from LinkedIn.
Oh, I have
for like freelance jobs.
No, I have attained some goals. I've
attained some goals through LinkedIn.
Yeah, which is what they would say if you posted something. I have attained these goals. That's the parlance of LinkedIn. But
I always love every once in a while someone will endorse me for something, and it'll be like, oh, what is it? And they're like, web design.
Yeah,
I don't design. What?
I think I put that in the stories, like the endorsements of like something really generic, like I've endorsed you for advertising. Okay, what?
I don't sell advertising.
What component of advertising?
I don't design websites. I don't know why I got that.
There's also 93 different thousand jobs within advertising.
Yeah,
that you could be doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know.
I don't get LinkedIn. I don't get it.
I get it as a tool for if I'm looking for a job or trying to network, but not as a place you go to like check the updates.
No. And when it started becoming more of a social network and I started seeing people arguing on LinkedIn, I was just like, bye.
I mean, it's weird because you get a new job and then you get a LinkedIn invitation from that new job person. Then you leave that job. So then that person's in your feed and it's like, oh yeah, the only reason I would ever read that thing you're posting is if I worked for your company.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we're having a happy hour for hashtagging the best practices in hashtag usage while socializing. And it's just all kinds of super, super like micro skills.
Like no one's going to read this.
Yeah. Like you have to be really industry specific to read it. And I don't know. Now I'm thinking like the idea of my column is to be ridiculous and hyperbolic.
Yeah.
That I was a little harsh on LinkedIn, but the purposes it serves is to get a job, to network in business.
Yeah.
And those are two things I don't like doing.
No.
And
networking
I'm not sure
is awful.
Yeah, not sure many people do. It's like the phony, you're just phoning things in like, oh, why do you want this job? Because I need some money.
I need money. Yeah, I need to work.
I have to pay for Verizon.
I have to pay for just everyday things.
Yeah.
So please. Yeah, and it's so weird that like you're not allowed to say that in interviews. Like
and why do they even ask? Like who is the person that actually
it's just
thinks,
like, haha, got you. You want to work for money. And it's like, what?
I mean, I can understand like if it's this giant, awesome company that everybody wants to work at, asking that question.
It would be, yeah, exactly.
But when it's like this like small boutique Pittsburgh advertising agency, well, my two answers are, I think I can, this is what always goes through my mind is,
yeah,
I can do what you need me to do. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I noticed.
Right.
And I need money.
It's just so ridiculous. Like I remember I applied for, before I got this job, I was applying for a lot of marketing communications jobs because I was like, there are more of them.
Oh yeah, I've been down that road.
I can use my skill set for these. I would probably enjoy working with a lot of, because it was a time when a lot of local nonprofits were looking for marketing communications people because they finally realized, we need this. Yeah. And so I was applying for all of them because I was like, I love the arts. I want to support the arts and I can do it in this capacity because I am not an artist. So I had so many interviews, like people were interested in me and they were interested in like the fact that like, oh yeah, you've been like, you're obviously familiar with us and you know, and like I had so many interviews and then I wouldn't get hired and I'm like, what do you want? Like, I don't understand, like, what... Oh,
yeah.
And it was all... like, so much of it, I was just like, do you think I'm just doing this because it was like, oh, well, you have a background in journalism. Why did you leave journalism? Why aren't you applying for a journalism job? And I'm like... Yeah.
Have you not heard?
Have you...
like, where have you been living?
It's just like, you just want to work here because, like... It was this thing where it's like, oh, you just want to work here because you can't find a journalism job. And it's like... yeah. What do you, I just don't understand that like mentality of like, you're suspicious of someone applying for a job and this person has like all of these skill sets. Like, what do you think I'm going to do? Like, do you think like New York Times is going to come knocking at my door and I'm just going to leave? It's not going to happen.
You're trying to embed yourself in their company to steal their Donut Fridays or something. Like,
it's just so strange. I'm like, I don't understand why you are looking at me so suspiciously and like, yeah,
it does feel like they're very suspect.
And it's so annoying because I'm like, I worked for a multinational huge corporation, like not at all in my skill set. I worked there for 5 years. So obviously I will stay here. I'm not going anywhere. So yeah, it's just, that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, yeah, like with LinkedIn and networking and like just like job searching, it's like it just adds another component of like, this is so
asinine.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah. Like whatever happened to like, yeah, working is great and I like to work and I want to do it for money.
It's like, yeah, you're wasting my time. You're wasting your time. You're wasting my time. I got a message via LinkedIn and this guy's like, I wasn't looking for work. And he's like, you interested in blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm open to suggestions.
So, I like suggestions.
So, I go through these interviews. It's like 6 of them. All different people. Yeah. 1 in person, 5 on the phone. Yada, yada, all this stuff. I feel dumb because I don't know if these people had spoken to one another about what I had told them. So I don't want to repeat myself.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep it brief and like, but at the same time be engaging and present my case and whatever. And so it gets to the final, like, this was done through 2 recruiters who were like, we think they're asking me like, what kind of salary do you want? We think you're going to get this job, blah, blah, blah. So it came down to the final guy. And by that time, I probably wasn't coming off that great because it was interview 7. I didn't know what else I could say. It was like the main guy. And so like the next 2 days later, I get like the recruiter's like, yeah, they don't want to offer you the job. I'm like,
what?
I'm like, why? And the guy's like, well, he said that you didn't sound like you wanted it enough.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like this gauntlet.
Well, you put me through 7 interviews. I'm exhausted. At first, they said this will be like a 2-week process. It was like a month and a half. Like,
it's so humiliating.
Don't sell me some bill of goods of we want to move fast, and then every day it's like, oh, it's like I'm told that they're going to make the decision. Then it's like, can you talk to 2 other people? Sure. But I've already said everything I need to say. So it's like,
oh my God.
I was just like, I'm glad because I don't want to work for a person who says something like, I don't think you were interested enough in it.
Can I tell you when Rob Rossi hired me for this job, he was like,
please do.
He was like, I don't know. I don't think she sounds excited enough. And I'm like,
also,
what?
I don't sound excited. Like, I don't sound excited about anything.
Do you want me to do cartwheels to the office? He has redacted that since then. We've talked about that. But yeah, I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want? It's so insane to me. But yeah, well, one time, speaking of which, I remember one time I applied for a job when I was in Syracuse at the time, and it was a job in Pittsburgh, and they were like, oh, can you do a call? Can you do like an interview? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I thought I was just going to talk to this one woman, because it was just one woman who got back to me. So, I call in and she's like, hi, Amanda. So I'm here with blah, blah, blah and blah, blah, blah. And I'm here with 3 students and I'm here with blah, blah, blah. And I was like, because it was a college job. And I was just like, you did not tell me this was going to be like a huge, like, conference, like basically a conference call.
And those are super awkward because you can't see anybody.
You can't see anybody.
I think so much like an interview has to do with like gesticulations and reading facial expressions. And if it's 4 people on a call, if it's 4 people in a conference room, you can be like, I can address you because you're looking at me.
Yeah.
You've never met these people. You don't know who's talking to you.
I couldn't hear what half they were saying. And then like somebody asked me a question and I went off on this, long-winded answer. And then at the end she was like, oh, sorry, I think you misheard me. And I'm like, why didn't you stop me? Yeah. I just was speaking for a good solid 3 minutes.
And the worst part is when they haven't like made a plan on their own side to be like, okay, I'll ask this question. When they're kind of confused about it too, they're like, oh, Bob, did you want to ask Josh a question? Oh, no, we're good. Like when it's just like the most.
I was just sitting there like, you know what? I'm good. I don't think. It was the worst, most humiliating interview ever. And it was just like the fact that they brought students in and you could tell that, it was like what you were saying, like the students were just like, why are we here?
Yeah. Everybody, I feel like, HR and like the institutions that either the people who create these situations have studied them and that's your job. And I appreciate that. But there's so much that's just like ill thought of or just poorly prepared for. Like you can't really, I just don't believe that you can have a by the book structure for an interview when every single person is a beautiful snowflake with different things to offer.
Oh my God. Yeah. Right. And like you have to go in and you have to be like, I think I can offer you this. Yeah. And it just feels so gross and sleazy and like, ugh. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's such pain. You feel like you're pandering.
And
half the time you don't want the job. You want the paycheck.
Yeah, and like, I have wanted some of the jobs I applied for, and it's like I have really wanted them, and it's just like,
and I've gotten jobs where I've been there for a year or 2, and it was a fine job. It wasn't my dream, but it's not like I was like I'm gonna.
I mean, I edited audio for automated surveys for 5 years. It was fine. It was a great job.
I edit audio.
It was fantastic. But yeah, anyway. It's just so ridiculous, and I just think that like LinkedIn kind of adds to that.
I think that's a real good summary of my whole feeling about it. Is the whole process is a ridiculous like act. You have to act.
It's dehumanizing. Yeah, it's ridiculous, it's very dehumanizing. And it is like just hire someone. What are you like? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah,
Either they're going to stay for years and be a loyal, dedicated employee, or they're going to come in and be like, I don't know. You guys are kind of a mess. I think I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Like I've been fired before. It didn't seem like it was that big of a deal for them.
No.
Like it was just one day. It's like, here's your stuff. You should go. I'm like, okay. So
right.
I don't think it's that hard to get rid of somebody.
It's not. It really isn't.
Yeah.
So anyway, do we want to talk about anything else? Want to talk about Hannah's article?
We have this here. This was a cool one. I'm like this is about memes and about accessibility to memes, right?
Which honestly, here's the thing. Because I've written about accessibility in the arts community, just overall. And, so this is on my mind. I never would have connected it to memes. Just because...
No, me neither. I want to know how you would do something like that.
Yeah. So this is talking about how a lot of times memes, which are now a big part of life online and just in general, I send my husband memes all the time.
I remember
just for funsies.
The first time I heard, when the word meme was started, I was like, I would, and like I don't think I had heard it spoken yet. I was just reading it, and I was like, meme.
When I went to journalism, when I went to journalism school, that's where I learned about memes because memes are now a part of journalism. You have to understand.
I was working at my first job, which I had for 7+ in journalism, and it was like not the forefront of social. Well, yeah, I guess so. It was like the turn of like Facebook wasn't huge yet. We still had Friendster. We still had, and so memes started popping up, and I remember people saying like, I think it's pronounced me. I think it's a meme. And I was like, I still don't really understand what they are. Is there like I get it. It's like a funny thing that's recycled over and over again, but does it have to, it can be a GIF, right? It can be, is it always an image with words on it?
No, it could be, it could be a lot of different things. But yeah, it's just stuff like, and to be fair,
Superman pointing at Superman.
Yeah, just stuff like that, where it's like memes have always existed in some capacity. Even if you look back at like political cartoons and stuff like that from, centuries ago, it's always been a thing. Yeah. But now now that it's so much more common,
everybody can
give it a word. Yeah, now everybody can do it. We gave a word to it. But so now that it is such an ever-present thing, it's like, well, who can enjoy memes? Not everybody. So basically what this is doing is if you have any level of blindness, and you have trouble reading something, or you can't recognize an image maybe, this is sort of helping, these researchers at CMU are sort of helping to make it easier for people to enjoy memes, basically. And it's interesting because I think there's a really nice quote that sums it up. So, so one of the researchers was just saying, like, people were kind of questioning their work, like, well, this isn't really going to improve anybody's quality of life. Yeah. It's like when you think about accessibility. Which definitely crossed
my mind because I'm not a huge meme fan, but...
Yeah, but he was like, people forget to prioritize recreation or fun. Yeah. And I was like, that is a really lovely way of just summing it up. It's like, okay, well, because this memes are such an ever-present thing now... Yeah, like, why shouldn't you be able to access them? Like,
and it's sad to think that we're going to do just the bare minimum for people that have different needs. Like, well, we have a ramp there for you now. You can get there. It's cool. No,
we have a ramp. We have have like
I have all the benefits.
We have technology that'll like explain the image on the screen for you, like, or just, and even that is very rare in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah. And like even like sensory friendly performances.
Sensory, just anything like that. And that there's been a lot more focus on that and making that available. It's not perfect, obviously, especially in Pittsburgh, which is a very old city and has a lot of catching up to do in terms of, making buildings more accessible, ADA compliant. Yeah. So
what they do is we didn't really explain it too much. So just one example is do they read what the meme says on the image, and so you listen to.
So basically, what they do, So basically, what they'll do is they'll have, it'll kind of like use music to explain the mood of it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like. And they're using like really old memes. So like I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's the baby fist. Angry fist. I don't.
Angry fist baby.
Fist baby.
Angry. Actually, it's called Success Kid. Apparently.
Oh, Success Kid. Okay.
So, or Velociraptor, which is like the raptor who looks like he's considering something. Socially awkward penguin. I was not.
I've never heard Velociraptor either.
That's this one.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
So basically, it's it's just a way of kind of like reading it to you, but also communicating the mood of it by giving you some music to just be like, oh, here's like a sound clip that sounds kind of like
if you get circus music, it's like some kind of spunky,
just stuff like that.
Ambiance.
So basically, honestly, you should just read about it. And we also have online, we have audio versions of the memes. So you can actually go in and listen to and see what these researchers are doing and what they're creating and get an idea instead of us
check it out for yourself.
Not explaining this well.
Click on our website.
Please. PittsburghCityPaper.
Don't make me go on LinkedIn looking for another job.
But so it's just one of those things where like Hannah wanted to write about it, and she
does love memes.
Yeah, she does love memes. Hannah loves a meme.
Loves herself some memes.
Hannah's like, please shut up. Don't talk about me.
She's not listening.
She's not listening to
So do we
this.
have anything like coming up that you can think of in the future to sign this sucker
Well,
off
I was
with?
going to say just our cocktail shake-off that we have been promoting the last
Thanks for coming.
many
if
weeks.
If
you came, yeah. It was great. I went last night. I took a friend with me, and we enjoyed a lot of the cocktails. They were separated into types of spirit. So there was like a gin section, a vodka section.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Met some really amazing people, talked with some amazing people. You could vote for your favorite cocktail at the end of the night. I did not realize this, and I think a lot of the bartenders also did not realize this. When you walked in, you got your spirits and your mixers. You had to make your cocktail in 20 minutes. You had to come up with a cocktail in 20 minutes.
So were they not aware of the ingredients they would receive?
I think a lot of them
Iron
were not.
Chef?
Well, some of them got like almond cream soda, and they were like, "What am I gonna do with this?"
I would just be like, "Here you go, have an almond cream soda.
Enjoy.
No booze.
Well,
Booze-free."
Red Ribbon was one of the people. So there was like a bunch of different soda companies, booze companies, just that contributed the ingredients. A lot of the ones I had were amazing. I really Bar Marco did an amazing job. And they actually ended up being one of the winners. They were, I think it was Critics' Choice.
Okay.
Commerce was sort of like the overall winner. My favorite was, personally, we had the Tavern, which is this new place that's going to be on 19th Street. Mm-hmm. They had an amazing, I do not like whiskey or bourbon.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember if it was whiskey or bourbon. They had an amazing brown spirit cocktail.
Yeah.
It was really, really good. It was kind of a lot of people were using spicy mixes, like a lot of sort of like pepper infused.
Yeah, which I never think to do, but I had this one drink that will always stand out, and I can't remember. It was gin,
love it.
And there was some kind of jalapeno infusion, and it was at what's the Ace Hotel place?
Oh, Ace Hotel had a really good one too, and theirs was spicy.
And I told the guy,
yeah,
he came over. I was like, "This is one of the best." It wasn't the bar. I was having dinner, but I stopped. And I was like, "This is one of the best drinks I've ever had."
Oh yeah,
in my
Ace
life.
Hotel was definitely in my top 3, and I talked with two of the people who were doing the mixing, and they were lovely and so funny, and just talking about how they made it. There was a really great array of cocktails. I was really impressed. It was a great event. Thanks to everybody who came. And definitely check out the places that were involved with it. Mm-hmm. So many great cocktails, so much creativity. That's all I have to say.
Okay. We also there's this week's Maggie Drink Rocks column, I think, is about coffee cocktails.
Coffee cocktails,
which is up
yeah.
now, so you can go check that out. Get your weekend started early. Mm-hmm. I also produce the show, so you can watch me walk around and turn off the computer as we say goodbye.
All right. Join us next week, every Friday. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to pretend I'm going to be a newscaster. Oh, yeah, that's good. Oh, band.